Chomya Committee, Yamananga, Waisani, Take Babinya Shimya Poe, Yama. Pamai Commission, Muta Pinyae, Muara Commission Okata, Nyunchai Mutomia, Tutia Nyunchai Mutomia, Damajimia, Pamaka Tomia, Tutia Pamaka Tomia, Pamakamia, Jama Jaudumiani, a 2-page jatato, Ederomia Alo, Minglawalu, Usa no Conseta, Karabu a Parish. Dini, Shangon take do, when either became Mama Jimbare. Shangon take to Shapi Timaye, cannot dear P, Jimbare, Pali, Abbhidhamma, Bota Sapiru, shoot out Yosoma, Tinker Lila and Dwe, a Tego, Pianle don't touch any, and again Nilamia, Shapuji, a BB Saya, Saran Pepwe, Canabe, Piparishi. Kana Munyapi, Siali, Tauta, Toyusana, Yanini, Tauta Sentu Kainoa, Sayama Piparishi, Kana Sisimyao, Jutin, Jinyaba Meshi, Sisinti, Kana Punitao, Jinyaji, Sisini, Pinyae Winjitana, Piransu Winji, Tauta Mutin Jiga, Juso no Consensaga, Biojaji, Sisindo, Madan Tabon, Shaikuji, Sisinli, Siaroi Tomama, Salem Pajajin, Sisinga. Tilo di miao, Mimianjini, Pianle, Pijaji, Sisin Chow, Sauni, Matia Bisimia, Piachini, Sisin Koni, Ekana, Pimiao Chow, Jinya Jinove, Piparishi.
Most venerables, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, according to Agenda 1, with the kind permission of most venerables and excellencies, may I have the honor to declare upon the International Conference on Remembering the Past and the Way Forward, a multidisciplinary approach to Pali, Abbhidhamma, and Buddhist studies.
Kana Sisintia, Shango Degdo, Shapi Timei, Kana Diapi Jimbare, Pali, Abbhidhamma, Bota Sapiru, shoot out Musoma, Chinga Lila Yandre, a Tego Pianle Donta Chini, and Naga Nilamia, Shapuji, BB Saya, Saran Pabwe Kana, Sardin, Pulijao, Dinya Abarishi.
Thank you very much to the esteemed audience. As per Agenda 2, may I now have the honor to call upon His Excellency, Professor Dr. Mu Tenji, Union Minister for Education, to deliver the welcome speech. Your Excellency, please.
Good afternoon, Most Venerable Professor Dr. Brahma Pandit, Most Venerable Professor Dr. Kamai Dhamma Sami Oxford CRO, Most Venerable CRO Professor Dr. Satya Vamsa V. Soti, Most Venerable Sanghas, Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and privilege for me to be here this afternoon at the International Conference on Remembering the Past and Ways Forward, a multidisciplinary approach to Pali, Abbhidhamma, and Buddhist studies. I would like to first of all express my profound gratitude to the most venerable Oxford Seado, Professor Dr. Kamai Dhammasami, for supporting the Constitution of Learning Achievements in University of Yangon with Metta, Kayuna, Mudita and Upika in collaboration with Ministry of Education, because it is important for every teacher and students and the people in Myanmar to be healthy and happy in the Centenary of University of Yangon. The title of today's international conference, Remembering the Past and Ways Forward, also reminds me that in an education reform, it is essential to consider the past and the present capabilities so that common planning and policies can be formulated for the future. So the ministry has carried out the policies of no discrimination in order that no one leaving behind in getting access to quality education. The Ministry of Education has been implementing a higher education reform process which encourages quality learning environment for teaching, learning and training, research and innovation to improve competency of students, youths and lifelong learners. Research is the heart of universities. Research and development plays a crucial role for the economic growth and sustainable development of a nation. So the ministry has been promoting research integrity by enhancing research culture that supports all university teachers and students and lifelong learners involved. Motivation is a crucial factor in conducting a research. The ministry encourages applied research, research seminars, and research publications that will be useful for the specific real-world applications and that will fulfill the local needs. The ministry introduced a merit-based recruitment and promotion system in 2018. So the number of research articles, but there are still very few international peer review publications. The ministry has collaborated with the private sector, including UMFCCI, to promote public-private partnership. It continuously expands the quality of technical and vocational education and training by offering competency-based modular short courses to meet the local labor market needs. The ministry also encourages universities to offer new degree programs which will meet the local needs. The ministry is encouraging to introduce a postgraduate degree program for Myanmar nationality studies at the University of Yangon and develop ethnic literature and culture at all the education institutions in Myanmar. Effective teacher education and professional development is important for student learning achievement. So the ministry is upgrading the 2-year education colleges to 4-year education degree colleges, developing the new curricula for the additional 2 more years and upgrading the curricula to be compatible with the new curricula in basic education. The ministry is encouraging 7 universities in Yangon and the other 7 universities in Mandalay to become autonomous universities. The new university organizational structures with faculty system are ongoing to be introduced soon, and they are now in process and in progress. The university charters are ongoing to be issued in accordance with the new setup. Members of teacher unions and student unions are cooperating with the universities for quality learning and for the development of universities. The Rectors Committee, which was organized in April 2018, is working together with the ministry to build capacities of all universities in Myanmar. In order to improve learning achievements, the boards of studies are planning to review and upgrade the higher education curricula and pedagogies that will be consistent with the new KG plus 12 curricula, and that will develop problem-solving skills, learning skills, personal skills, and social skills of the students and lifelong learners. The ministry encourages to develop their positive outlooks, positive thinking, positive emotion, so that they will meet our core values of goal, good human being, teamwork, accountability and responsibility, innovation and creativity, and have more opportunities to do the best for the world. Most venerable Sanghas, ladies and gentlemen, in the 21st century, without problem-solving skills, learning skills, personal skills, and social skills, most of the young generation is facing challenges to find a good job due to the global competition. Therefore, Aiju and Iju, including Metta, Kayuna, Mudita, and Upika, are very important for everyone to achieve the 21st century competency. According to the past experience of the University of Yangon, quality learning is the center of ecosystem, education, teaching, and peace, and so on. Peace is central to the nation and also to the achievement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) and the National Education Strategic Plan to 2021 to 2030. We cannot hope for sustainable development without peace, stability, human rights, and effective governance based on the rule of law. So, Metta, Kayuna, Mudita, and Upika will help to shape a more peaceful, healthy learning environment. Most venerable Sanghas, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, I would like to express my profound thanks to most venerable Sanghas, participants, and all who are involved in making this international conference possible. I wish the success of the two-day conference and the good health and peaceful minds of Seados and the audience. In conclusion, we should work together with no bias in solving the problems and revitalizing University of Yangon to become a flagship university of the country. I am confident that most venerable Seados lectures will make the teachers, the students, and the audience present here to become peaceful, happy, and healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed to Excellency for this welcome speech and for highlighting the essential role of the research in the academic institution and ensuring the qualities to be developed by the educators and the learners. So the next agenda is group photo session. May I now have the honor to invite our distinguished guest to the stage to pose for the group photo. His Excellency Professor Dr. Myo Teng-ji, Union Minister for Education, to come to the stage, His Excellency, to have the group photo. Siaji Dr. Myo Jue, Siaji Dr. Maung Maung Win, Siaji Dr. Teng Win, Siaji Dr. Po Kaung, Siaji Dr. Mien Teng, Siaji Dr. Ne Win U, Siamaji Dr. Ong Ma Jo, Siaji Dr. Thong Tai. We also have the honor to invite our two chairpersons for today's event, Professor U Teng Lai and Dr. Ls. Roots Farkesh, to come over to the stage for the group photo, please. Thank you very much. May I also have the honor to invite our speaker, Dr. Francois Tournier and Dr. Pie Pyo Jo, Dean of the Academic Affairs of the Shan State Buddhist University. Thank you. Thank you very much, Venerables and Excellencies and the distinguished guests for the group photo. The next agenda is paper presentation session. So in this session, we will have 3 panelists. The most venerable, Dr. Pra Mahabrahma Pandit, Oxford Seattle Professor Dr. Kamai Dhammasami, and Dr. Pra Maha Sakyawamsa Wisodi, who would be presenting on Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist education, and the Buddhist anthropology. We also have 2 chairpersons who will be presiding over this session. So before we hand over the floor to the chairpersons, may I now have the honor of introducing the chairpersons to the distinguished audience. May I now invite my co-MC, Dr. Zindu Khai, to introduce Professor U Teng Lai to the audience. Thank you.
Professor U Teng Lai was born in Mandalay region. He passed matriculation examination with distinction in mathematics and obtaining university scholarship in 1961. In 1966, he received both BA honors degree and master degree in Pali from Mandalay University, where he started working as a tutor. After working for almost 40 years at Mandalay University, Taungji College, and Molamya University, he took retirement as a professor when he was 64. Professor is also an author who has many literary contributions in Myanmar journals and magazines. At present, he is working as a leader of Oriental Studies at the Myanmar Academy of Arts and Science, a member of Myanmar Language Commission, a member of the National Literary Awards Scrutinization Committee for the Ministry of Information. He also teaches Pali grammar at the Sule Abbhidhamma Propagation Association, Yangon.
Kindly allow me to introduce you to another chairperson, Dr. Alex Ruth Falkesh, PhD Cambridge, Head of Department of Pali and Languages, and lecturer in Shan State Buddhist University, Myanmar. Born in Spain, Dr. Alex Ruth Falkesh got his BA in Classic from the University of Barcelona, Spain. He holds 2 MA, Sanskrit from the University of Pune, India, and another Master's in Asian Languages and Cultures from the University of Barcelona, Spain, and PhD in Pali from the University of Cambridge, United Kingdom. His research focuses on the Pali scholastic tradition in general and specifically on the tradition of Burmese Pali grammarians. So no doubt he has very good knowledge of the Burmese Pali grammars as well. In addition to Pali grammar, he teaches and studies Pali poetry and traditional literary criticism, Alangara, which is very familiar to our Burmese monastic. While his approach to Pali study has been mainly philological, he has started to explore the traditional techniques of Pali textual criticism and manuscript studies in Theravada Buddhism in his research. Other areas of his research include logic, epistemology, and orality. In addition to such research, he does translation work from Pali and Sanskrit to Spanish and English. He was also a research fellow at the Dhammachai Tipitaka project in Bangkok from 2015 to 2017. Starting from 2017, he was a research fellow at the project of mapping medieval sciences in Southern Asia, Singapore University of Technology and Design. Dr. Alex is also a member of Pali Text Society's project to digitize Myanmar manuscript. Currently, he is a lecturer in Pali at the Shan State Buddhist University, Taungji, Myanmar, where he is working as the head of the Department of Pali and Languages. His work at SSBU involves postgraduate teaching, PhD supervision, and research. Now, may we once again have the honor to invite our chairpersons to the stage. Thank you very much. So with our two chairpersons already on the stage, may we hand over the floor to our chairpersons. Thank you.
Do you have an extra microphone? Sally? Okay.
Very good afternoon, everyone, venerable members of the Sangha and respectable scholars and friends. This afternoon, our first speaker will be the most venerable Professor Dr. Brahma Pandit. But the most venerable holds a PhD degree from the University of Delhi in India. The most venerable has authored over 70 books on Buddhism and philosophy in the Thai and English languages, which include History of Greek Philosophy, A Buddhist Approach to Peace, Buddhist Morality, Buddhist Worldview, International Recognition of the Day of Vesak celebrations. The Most Venerable has held senior posts at Mahachulalongkorn Raja Vidyalaya University, which include Director of the Academic Affairs, Dean of Graduate School, Deputy Rector for Research and Planning, and Deputy Rector for Academic Affairs. In 1997, he was appointed as Rector of Mahachulalongkorn Raja Vidyalaya University. In 2003, His Majesty, the King of Thailand, appointed the Most Venerable as Professor of Philosophy at Mahachulalongkorn Raja Vidyalaya University, where he is now serving as an advisor. The Most Venerable is a member of the Supreme Sangha Council of Thailand and the Ecclesiastical Governor of Sangha Administration in the Central Region, Thailand. The Most Venerable is also Chairman of the International Association of Buddhist Universities, the IABU. This afternoon, the title of the presentation of the Most Venerable Professor Dr. Brahma Pandit will be Buddhist Philosophy in the Contemporary World. Thank you, Venerable. The floor is yours.
Respected members of the Sangha, Excellency Professor Miao Tenchi, Union Minister of Education, Professor Po Gao, Rector of Yangon University, and friends in the Dhamma. Let me join you in the very special occasion of Yangon University celebration of 100 years. My contribution to this celebration would be our presentation, views on philosophy, Buddhist philosophy in the contemporary world. I'm very pleased to be a part of this celebration indeed. And I would say that to talk about Buddhist philosophy in conjunction with the main theme of this conference, remembering the past and ways forward. So when I pick up Buddhist philosophy to present to you, I have to look back into the past and project the trend of Buddhist philosophy in the future. I was informed that Buddhist philosophy may be new to some of us here. So Reverend Dhammasami suggests that at least I should give introduction. what is Buddhist philosophy? How is it significant? And how is it related to Abbhidhamma? So, I am aware that Myanmar is the center of Abbhidhamma study and meditation practice. How Buddhist philosophy developed as a whole, developed from Abbhidhamma to be the wisdom of the world in the name of Buddhist philosophy. In order to understand the meaning of Buddhist philosophy, the purpose and the goal of Buddhist philosophy, you have to understand that Buddhist philosophy in the educational or academic circle, it is regarded as a part of Indian philosophy. Buddhist philosophy developed in India as a part of Indian philosophy. And the term philosophy is the Western concept. In India, in the ancient time, they didn't call Buddhist philosophy. They didn't call Indian philosophy as philosophy. They have the term for themselves as philosophy. Even right now, when you go to India to study Indian philosophy in Sanskrit or Hindi, you will find that they call their system of philosophy as Darshana. Darshana literal meaning is view or world view. So Buddhist philosophy is Buddhist Darshana. And there are two kinds of Indian philosophy. The major one is Astika. Indian Darshana that confirm the authority of Veda, Astika. And Indian philosophy schools which did not accept authority of Veda is called Nastika. Buddhist philosophy belongs to Nastika. For Astika that accept authority of Veda, you will see 6 schools of Indian philosophy. They use the term Shat Darsana, 6 worldviews. So this is Darshana, Indian philosophy. So I just mentioned the name. 6 schools of Indian philosophies which confirm the authority of Brahman and Veda, Nyaya, Vaisesika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. Whoever wants to study Indian philosophy, you have to study 6 schools of Darsana, Indian philosophy. Come to Buddhism. Buddhist philosophy, in Pali, you won't find the term philosophy there or Darshana there. In Pali, we have the history of Indian Darshana summary in Brahmacharya Sutta, Indika Nikaya. The name of the sutta, the Buddha gave beside Brahmacharya Sutta as Ditti Chala, nets of views. In the sutta, the Buddha enumerates 62 philosophical views, 62, at the time of the Buddha. And the Buddha regarded as philosophy. But his teaching is not philosophy. Ditti is philosophical, speculation. But at the Buddha time, the Buddha tried to present Samma Ditti, the right worldview, that once you accept it, it leads to nirvana, liberation from suffering. So the Buddha regards himself as free from Ditti. That's why he did not quarrel with anyone. He is Dhammavadi, a preacher of the Dhamma, the right view. Anyway, in the Pali literature, Ditti is like Dachana philosophy. And because of this presumption, the goal of Indian philosophy, including Buddhist philosophy, different from the goal of Western philosophy. The approach of Buddhist philosophy may be soteriological, that is aiming at liberation, vimutti, or nibbana. In Hindu philosophy, the goal of philosophical investigation is moksha, liberation. The same as vimutti in Buddhist philosophy, liberation, literal meaning. So that is the goal of Buddhism. Buddhist philosophy is to attain nibbana or nirvana. In Hinduism, it's aimed at moksha. In Jainism, it's kaivalaya, something like that. That is different. So as it appears in Mahasaropama Sutta, the core of the Greater Heartwood Sutta, the Buddha summarized in, I quote, "It is this unshakable liberation of mind, citta vimutti, that is the goal of this holy life, its heartwood and its end." So this tradition of Indian philosophy, including Buddhism, is different from the goal in Western philosophy. Western philosophy begin in Greek philosophy. So philosophy in English derived from Greek words philosophia. Philosophia. Philos means love of wisdom. It is the Western philosophy enterprise is in pursuit of knowledge of wisdom. That's why all science that we know today spring from philosophy, Western philosophy. So it is said that Western philosophy is the master of all science. Even natural philosophy is even science today came to be known as natural philosophy. So Aristotle and other philosophical, natural, scientific investigation is known as philosophy. So now come to Buddhist philosophy in the past. When you look into the history of Buddhist philosophy in India, Edward Conze divided Buddhist philosophical development in India into 3 phases. The first phase is known as early Buddhism. The body of original teaching of the Buddha in Tripitaka, Pali Tripitaka. But which Tripitaka? That regard as the original teachings of the Buddha, except by all Nikaya, by Mahayana and Theravada. So they say among the philosophy, we call investigation, nowadays, they regard the first 4 Pali Nikaya to be the original teachings of the Buddha. That is Tika Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya. That is very similar to the Chinese Akamas. There are 5 Akama like the Nikaya. It came from Saravasatiwada in Sanskrit. So most of the teaching in Akama, Tiraka Kama, Mathamayama Kama, etc. 4 Akamas in, say, Tripitaka in Chinese or even Sanskrit, these 2 groups, collections of the Buddha teaching are very similar, and they take as the original teaching of the Buddha in by the Buddhist scholar nowadays, and some Patimokkha's, the original one, to be taken as the Buddha original teaching. And the second phase is give rise to philosophical debate, philosophical investigation. In the first phase, during the Buddha time, hardly anyone challenged the Buddha. His personality, his charisma, make people believe in his teaching. Malankaya Putta Sutta, that try to challenge the Buddha to answer Abhayagata Panha, but the 10 questions not to be answered by the Buddha, but it is the subject of philosophical investigation in the second phase, about 100 years, 200 years after the Buddha parinirvana, after the Buddha passed away. So there was a split among the Buddhist Nikaya. For example, at the time of King Ashoka, the third council, we formed, or we got the three Pitaka in three baskets, that is Vinaya, Sutanta, and Abbhidhamma. It's for the first time that Abbhidhamma Pitaka introduced and included in the three collections of the Buddha teaching in Pali. So those who disagree with Abbhidhamma, the third Pitaka, move away from the mainstream of Buddhism at the King Ashoka time, that is Theravada. They form their own collection of teaching. The Nikaya that is very powerful is Sarvastivada. They organize their own council at the time of King Kanishaka, 600 years after the Buddha parinirvana, and they write their own Tripitaka in Sanskrit, in Kantara, in Kashmir, that is Sarvastivadin. They call themselves as Sarvastivadin. So in this sense, I would say that there is the conflict of idea between Theravada and Sarvastivada. Both of them uphold Abbhidhamma literature as the most important. At this time, no Mahayana, 500 from 300 years up to 600 years after the Buddha parinirvana, there is a philosophical debate between Pali Abbhidhamma and Sanskrit Abbhidhamma. Pali belongs to Theravada, and Sanskrit Abbhidhamma belongs to Sarvastivada. Anyway, after some time, after King Ashoka, Theravada Buddhism moved to flourish in Sri Lanka. So India was no longer the venue of confrontation between Hinayana, that is Sarvastivada, and Mahayana of Nagarjuna and Yogacara. So Buddhist philosophy, I would say it here, it developed in India after the time of King Ashoka, reserved for Hinayana in the sense of Sarvastivada, that is Sanskrit literature, and Mahayana, Sanskrit also by Nagarjuna, Madhyamika, and Yogacara. So our tradition in Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, right now has its base or headquarters in Sri Lanka. No connection with the development of philosophy in India. That's why I would say that the development of Buddhist philosophy, scholastic Buddhism, at first it is Theravada, Abbhidhamma, and commentary, and Sarvastivada, Abbhidhamma, Kosha, and commentaries in India. But after that, Sarvastivada became the sole philosophical school, Abbhidhamma school in India, Sanskrit, whereas our Pali Abbhidhamma moved to settle in Sri Lanka. So no philosophical debate or even rejection or exception by Mahayana at that time. So the venue of philosophical confrontation, I would say that, in India belonged to Sarasvativada, and this Sarasvativada is regarded as Hinayana, later vehicle by Mahayana philosophers. Remember that, because I will come to the contemporary context. So in Sarasvativada, in India, it has two sub-schools. One school that upholds Abbhidhamma, Sarasvativada Abbhidhamma, is called Vaipasika. Another school upholds Sutra, not Abbhidhamma, they call Sautrantika, Sutra. So these two schools are prominent Buddhist philosophy, were prominent Buddhist philosophy in India when Mahayana came to the scene. So confrontation between Hinayana, that is Sarasvativada, in the name of Vaipasika and Sautrantika, challenged by Nakarajuna, Madhyamaka, or emptiness school. So in that sense, in Indian philosophy, there is a debate about two truths: Satya, Sammati Satya, conventional truth, and Paramatha Satya, ultimate truth. In Sarasvativada, as in our Abbhidhamma, there are two kinds of truths. And in our Abbhidhamma, that is in our Abbhidhamma, there are four categories of ultimate truth. Ultimate truth, as it appears here, four kinds of that it is quite well known, four categories of the Dhamma in Theravada Abbhidhamma. But however, it is just a difference between Sarasvativada and our Theravada. There is a different interpretation of ultimate truth. In Abbhidhamma, there are four ultimate truths, as we know in Myanmar: Citta, that is consciousness of mind; Cetasika, mental factors; Rupa, material form; and Nibbana. In Sarasvativada, there are more categories than four ultimate truths, like space or some other regarded as ultimate truth. These ultimate truths for Sarasvativada exist in the past, in the present, in the future. They call Sarasvativada, exist all the time. Why it says so? That is because it is recorded in Kathavatu, the point of controversy, philosophical controversy, over 200 points at the time of King Ashoka, recorded in Kathavatu. And one of the points is about Sarasvativada. It's called in Pali, Sappamathiti Katha. And that is on the theory that all exists. Why all exists in the past? Because Sarasvativada believed as in our tradition, Aramanang Chinteti Chittang. Consciousness is the consciousness of the object, intentionality of consciousness. And when our consciousness be aware of the object, that object in our Theravada really exists outside our mind. It is a realist position. However, Sarasvativada quote the Buddha, Atitana Kata Paccupannang. Aramana, object of consciousness, exists in the past, at the present, and in the future. When we have intentionality of the object, that object must be already there in the past, in the present, in the future. So the moment of the object is longer than us, ours in Theravada. So we reject it. So Theravada moved to Kashmir and have its own Abbhidhamma and interpretation. So because of Sarvatiwada, it became the base of third phase, Mahayana. Mahayana can be divided into Madhyamaka, Sunyavada, and Yogacara. The Mahayana critique of Hinayana here is, please understand, it is Hinayana in the sense of Sarvasatiwada, not Theravada. At that time, Theravada was in Sri Lanka. So in that sense, Madhyamaka Nakaruchana, critique of Savabhava and intrinsic nature of the Dhamma in Abhidhamma, Vaipasika, and Sautrantika. So no time allow me to go further, but I would say that because of that confrontation, Mahayana developed the ideas of sunyata, emptiness. When they say that realistic position of Abbhidhamma believe the existence of the object outside the mind. But that existence is not entity, it is anataman, it is anatta. Whereas Sapatika, Sarvasivada regarded that Dhavya as the Savabhava that has its existence itself. Whereas in our Abbhidhamma, Pali, we regard as the flux, stream of existent phenomena in accordance with the law of dependent origination, paticca samuppada. That is our position in Theravada. But what Nakaruchana attack is Sampatikavada or Sarvatiwada, regard the existence as static and atomic. So Madhyamika, Nakaruchana say that when the stream of existence is nothing but the flux of the event, it is empty, it is sunyata. But in the conventional term, it exists over there, but in the ultimate term, it's empty. The worldview of Arahant, of the Buddha, the worldview of Arahant and the Buddha look at the world through ultimate truth, Paramattha Satcha, the way that our tradition teaching nowadays, but the attack that give rise to Tantra and Tantra related Vajrayana, who uphold the views of Madhyamaka and Yogacara. Even sent in India, in China and Japan, believe in Nakaruchana, Madhyamaka, and Yogacara. So if you want to study Zen Buddhism, you have to understand philosophy of Madhyamaka and Yogacara. So this philosophy become the foundation of Zen Buddhism, of Tantrayana, of Vajrayana. That is what I want to say. Now come to contemporary Buddhist philosophy. I suggest that nowadays, no more conflict or confrontation between Nikaya in Buddhism. We should not waste our time in that thing. We want all the Buddhist philosophers come to the table of dialogues, exchange our views among the Buddhists. That is number one. Number two, it's time for comparative philosophy. Compare Buddhist philosophy with philosophy in other religions, science, and other cultures. And the third one is philosophical framework. We provide philosophical framework for Buddhist psychology, Buddhist economics, and Buddhist anthropology. How we can psychology Buddhist without Buddhist philosophy as a foundation. I will go very fast in this. First thing, a compromise come in the year 1950 when the World Fellowship of Buddhists unanimously dropped the term Hinayana from Buddhist literature. No more Hinayana at a Nikaya only Theravada, because Theravada is now in existence from Sri Lanka to Thailand, Myanmar. But Hinayana as Sarvastivada, no more available nowadays, no Nikaya as a practitioner. So we are conversing between Theravada as a Buddhist followers and Mahayana in the world. That is one thing. And the World Buddhist Sangha Council in the year 1967 tried to identify 9 basic points common in both Theravada and Mahayana. There are 9 points. I have no time to elaborate here. So I just say that, for example, Buddha, our holy master, we take refuge in the triple gem and no God creator and Four Noble Truths, etc. And the thing is that from these 9 basic points of unity, we move forward in our Vesak celebration as a chairman of the Vesak celebration in Thailand and other countries, Sri Lanka and Myanmar. We invite Buddhist scholars, Theravada and Mahayana, to work together for the dialogues. We create, for the first time, the collection of 3 Pitakas in the 3 Nikaya, Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, select the essential building, 9 basic points in the same volume we call Common Buddhist Text. Now we spend 7 years to complete this text. That is Common Buddhist Text. We translate from original teaching in Pali, Sanskrit, Chinese, and Tibetan to start the culture of cooperation among the Buddhists. And we hope that philosophical investigation in the future will come to further dialogues and exchange views to promote Buddhist thought in the world. Now, the second trend in the future is about, even right now, going on in comparative philosophy, is a comparison of philosophical concepts from 2 or more different cultures. That's why we have the comparison to look into similarity and difference between Buddhist philosophy and Christianity, Christian philosophy, Islamic philosophy, even Hindu philosophy. A comparative study between Buddhism and science. Scientific worldview become very predominant in the world today. You tend to believe scientists more than the Buddha and even the Buddhist philosophers. That is the general public. So in order to convince the people in the world that Buddhist worldview or philosophy have something similar to scientific worldview. For example, the teaching of anatta. Non-substantiality now is confirmed by quantum physics. So Buddhist anatta and quantum physics have similarity. So this is a comparison that we invite. The third movement, philosophical framework, we should provide Buddhist philosophical framework to Buddhist psychology. I organize international conference on mindfulness, and I come across with MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction movement in the West. I ask them, in which point you regard your MBSR as a Buddhist psychology? What is the Buddhist philosophical framework become the paradigm for your practitioner in Buddhist psychology? I think it's time for Buddhist philosopher to seriously provide Buddhist framework for not only Buddhist psychology, Buddhist economics. That is 50 years, that is we can get from Abbhidhamma, meditation in Buddhist psychology. In my country, we talk, our King Bhumibol introduced sufficiency economy. And we look for philosophical framework for sufficiency economy. And in Bhutan, the king of Bhutan introduced GNS, gross national happiness, as a Buddhist economic framework of the country. Where is the philosophical foundation or framework for that thing? So even right now we talk about SDG, Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. What is the roles of religion in promotion of SDG? I personally was invited by the United Nations and the Vatican to talk about SDG and religious role. I try to provide philosophical foundation for SDG. I give a talk there at the Vatican, and anyway, that would be necessary for make sustainable development to be a Buddhist framework of economics and development that is waiting for our philosophical investigation and philosophical works that we have to work together in spite of our difference in Theravada and Mahayana. I told our friends in a Vesak celebration that no more competition. Now it's time to work together in the future for cooperation. Buddhism is like a bird. There are two wings of the bird that carry the bird from India to outside world. That is Theravada and Mahayana. The birds can fly all over the world because of the unity of the two wings. In the same way, Buddhism can flourish in the world because of the unity of Theravada and Mahayana. That is the work of Buddhist philosophers waiting for us to do something together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Work? Hello? Thank you so very much, Venerable, for this wonderful synthesis of the history of Buddhist philosophy, 2,500 years in half an hour. Not bad, that's very good, Ante. Our next speaker this afternoon is the Most Venerable Professor Dr. Kamai Dhammasami. The Most Venerable has pursued his education at a number of academic institutions and has obtained the Dhammacharya degree in Myanmar, 2 master degrees and an MPhil degree from Sri Lanka, a DPhil from the University of Oxford, and he is better known as the Oxford Sayadaw, of course. The Oxford Sayadaw has served as a Secretary General of the United Nations Day of Vesak in Bangkok, 2006 to 2010. In 2007, he brought together more than 70 Buddhist colleges and universities from Myanmar and abroad to form 2 Buddhist Universities associations, the International Association of Theravada Buddhist Universities, the IATBU, and the International Association of Buddhist Universities, the IABU. Since then, he has been working as the Executive Secretary of both associations. In 2016, he founded the Shan State Buddhist University, SSBU, in Taungji, Myanmar. He has been conferred national-level religious titles by the government of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, such as the Agga Maha Saddhamma Jyotika Daja for his outstanding missionary work, the Agga Maha Gantavacha Bachaka Pandita for his excellence in teaching, and the Dhamma Katika Bahujana Hitatara for delivering the Dhamma to benefit the many. In the present presentation, the Most Venerable Professor Dr. Kamai Dhammasami will discuss some aspects of what has been the object of his research for many years, that is Buddhism and education in Myanmar. If you don't know it, I would remind you all that recently his PhD dissertation in the form of a book was published under the title Buddhism, Education and Politics from Burma and Thailand from the 17th century to the present. That's published by Bloomsbury in London. That was published in 2018. And without further ado, I leave the floor to the Most Venerable. The title of his presentation is Building Confidence in the Learned and the Learning Process, a brief contemplation on Buddhist monastic education in Myanmar. Thank you, Venerable.
The most honorable Professor Dr. Prabhama Pandit, my mentor at the United Nations Deal with SAC and the International Association of Buddhist Universities. And also the most honorable Professor Dr. Sakya Wamsa Visuddhi, my colleague, my senior colleague at the International Theravada Buddhist Universities. Professor Dr. Myu Denji, Union Minister for Education, and Professor Po Gao, Rector of Yangon University, distinguished scholars, ladies and gentlemen. Building confidence in the learner and the learning process. A brief contemplation on Buddhist monastic education in Myanmar. Like in Sri Lanka and Thailand, here in Myanmar, the Buddhist monastic order, the Sangha, has struggled with the issue of keeping up with the ever-changing demand of education on the one hand, and on the other, with the crucial needs to retain authenticity and sacredness. I have argued in my doctorate thesis at Oxford University, now published by Bloomsbury in London. Now this is the one. That for centuries, the Sangha is torn between pragmatism of making Buddhist education relevant to the contemporary world and idealism concerning Buddhist education itself with purely matters of spiritual liberation. So between idealism and pragmatism. I will not repeat that debate here because I have already published it. Instead, I'm looking at the psychology of current monastic education in Myanmar. Today, my main argument is that the educators, the educationists, should place more trust and confidence in the learning process and in the learners, especially the students' ability to learn and make decisions for themselves. To demonstrate my argument, I will offer briefly a general picture of how the Tipitaka, the words of the Buddha, is studied in Myanmar for the last half a century. At the moment, the picture is like this. Our Sangha education is full of examination, many examinations. Students are over-examined, over-assessed. In England, remember, students sit exam, only for 5 years until they reach university. Only 5 years, not every year. In Myanmar, for the same text, a student, novice, Korean, is examined for his understanding many times. The student, we had to repeat the same standardized answer many times because there are many examinations organized by different examination boards. And he is expected to sit as many exams as he can. You can see the degree behind the name of a monk, how many exams he has sat. For example, a 12-year-old novice in Taungji, in a teaching monastery in Taungji, is expected to sit exam on the Patimokkha, the Vinaya, the Pali Kajana grammar, Pali grammar, and the Abbhidhamma Sangha 4 times a year. For number 1 is Kambosa Tamnijo, a 21 years old exam in Burmese. Patamabjan exam that is held by the Ministry of Religious and Cultural Affairs, again in the Burmese medium. The Briyati Satama Bala exam, that's in the Shan language in Pinlo. And lastly, the Vinyadika Nokha exam in Yangshui Indi. 4 exams, the same text, similar questions in the same year. If he decides to enter more Tamnijo exam in Yangon, Mandalay, Bakoku, Tato, and so on, because there are nearly 20 of them, such different examples around the country, he can be sitting 10 or more exams in a year to be recognized for his comprehension of these texts. Before we ask if sitting many exams is good and necessary, let me provide a historical background of how we got here in the first place, why the exam came into existence. The non-exam based pedagogy began to give way to one focused entirely on formal examination by the end of the 19th century. How monastic education system over the centuries have changed, can be seen in the lives of 3 leading monks of Myanmar. Lady Siaro and Mahakandayang Siaro, another one. Okay, Mahasi Siaro 3. I'm going to talk about that education. Well-known scholar and meditation master Lady Siaro's education was obtained exclusively through non-exam based textual study system. No formal examination whatsoever. Lady Siaro began his study at his village monastery at the age of 10. His abbot taught him Burmese and gave him basic moral and monastic training. Following his Lady Siaro. Okay, yeah. Following his ordination at 17, he studied Kachana's Pali grammar, the Abbhidhamma Sangha, and Vitilayu, a text on the thought process, the Madhika, the Dhatukata, the Yamaka, the Patana, a lot of Abbhidhamma texts. In 1869, 3 years after he had received Upasamada, after he became a fully ordained monk, he went to a famous teaching monastery, Sanjao, in Mandalay, for higher study. There he studied under the abbot Sanjao Siaro all the Vinaya texts and their commentaries, and became a teacher himself at the age of 28. He was to repeat his study of these as well as the Abbhidhamma text and their commentary under 2 other famous teachers, Makudarama Siaro and Selen Siaro. Lady Siaro's diligent application to the Vinaya and Abbhidhamma Pitaka followed the norm under the non-exam based textual system. While teaching at Sanjao Monastery, he continued to study with other Siaro in Mandalay, actually also under a layperson, Upolai. Patent in this system is the absolute freedom enjoined by teachers in managing their own syllabuses, and the depth of study involved. It's like a proper college and university education at Nalanda Buddhist University in ancient time, 700 years older than Oxford University, and also similar to university education and approach in the West these days. As a result, the system produced scholars such as Ledi Sayadaw. He was to compile in Pali works on important Buddhist tenets, including Paticcasamuppada, Ariyatthangika Magga, Bodhipakkhya, and so on. He also engaged in an academic debate with some Sri Lankan scholar in the Abbhidhamma writing. We have a Burmese monk who has just completed his PhD on this topic at Mahachulalongkorn University. Ledi Sayadaw's criticism of some work by Sri Lankan monks sparked a series of debate among Burmese Abbhidhamma scholars who resorted to work in Pali in defense of the Sri Lankan work. Ledi Sayadaw was one of the best scholars in the Burmese language as well. He pioneered writing on essential Buddhist topics in Burmese, criticizing all the monks of the time for compiling works, I quote, full of quotation in Pali from the sutta, the commentary, the sub-commentary, and learned words from the Nisaya, which are useful only for monks who knew Pali, but leave ordinary lay people with no Pali knowledge unable to taste the Buddha's teaching, end quote. However, by the turn of the century, the 19th century, such non-exam-based textual study began to lose ground to formal exam-based study. အရှင်စနကဘိဝန္တ Ashin Sanaka Bhiwanda, known as Mahakandayon Sayadaw and Mahasi Sayadaw, one of the most foremost Vipassana meditation masters in the world in the last century, were both trained in textual study in the earliest of their training in a non-exam-based system, but came under pressure to form examination, increasingly came under pressure. It's interesting to note that at the age of 15, Ledi Sayadaw had begun his study of the Abbhidhamma Pitaka, the canonical text. 15 at 15. Whereas Ashinsanaka Bhiwanda would begin his examination career without having been through the Abbhidhamma Pitaka or other Pitaka at the same age. At the same age. You can see the difference of the two systems. Although he was to complete the textual study of the whole Digha Nikaya commentary, Ashinsanaka Bhiwanda would thereafter pursue his study until the age of 27 through the syllabuses of two boards of formal examination, the Pramabhya and the Tajatiha. During his student career, almost 2 decades, Ashinsanaka Bhiwanda seemed to have been inspired by education system based on the syllabuses of former exam-based learning. He repeatedly sat at the Pratamaji at the highest level in the Pramabhyan until he achieved the highest mark in the country called Pratamajo. And after that, he went to study text in a non-exam-based system in Bakoku, and he became a teacher. He was recognized as a teacher there. But because of the pressure to pass exam to hold a degree, he returned to Mandalay to sit for more exams. Ashinsanaka Bhiwanda's contemporary, Mahasi Sayadaw, likewise felt the pressure of having to pass examination. Mahasi Sayadaw received most of his monastic training and study at his village monastery and at 2 other village monasteries nearby. He began school at his village monastery, Sekon, in Shuibu, at the age of 6 and was ordained as a novice at 12. Under the abbot, he studied the curriculum for general education, and by the time he was 17, he had learned through informal, non-exam-based system of textual study the whole Vinaya Pitaka and considered a part of specialized curriculum those days. By the age of 19, he had completed under the abbots of 2 nearby village monastery the whole Tipitaka and with their commentary and sub-commentary at the age of 19 and with no exam. Despite completing the textual study of the entire Tipitaka under 2 teachers within 8 years, just 8 years, Mahasi Sayadaw would not feel confident for his future monastic career without passing formal examination, without having a degree. This was because monks were considered learned only if they pass formal examination. This is, I quote him, okay? So without particularly studying the syllabus for the examination, he said examination, like Pratamavidan examination and demonstrated examination. Even after he had become a famous meditation teacher, he would still go for examination because he thought it was important for him to have those recognition. Here one sees the beginning of the era of formal examination through the perception of 2 leading monks, Shinsanaka Byuanda, top among the Pariyati learned monks, and Mahasi Sayadaw, top among the Patipati meditation masters. They decided to set examination Pratamavidan and Tejadiha for and also Dhammasariya. Here the question is how the exam-based education system, formal examination, came to be required. Let me take you through a short history of Myanmar. King Pali, is credited with bringing into existence the Pratamavidan examination that we have now. The official narrative, I emphasize the official narrative, is that he introduced Pratamavidan examination with good intention to support Buddha Sasana. In my doctorate thesis, I beg to differ from this official line and a popular depiction of King Pali. To me, is rather for the purpose of retaining manpower for the war expedition and for the construction of the new capital at Awa, and for the purpose of controlling the monastic sangha, that Pratamavidan examination was first introduced. Not so much to support the sangha or the Buddha Sasana. Some of his successors follow his example. Now let me give you the evidence. The evidence are his own words, okay? The royal order that he produced on daily basis. His royal orders, the royal orders of King Pali, will tell us that it was geopolitics that made formal examination necessary. King Pali was an ambitious man militarily. Professor Thantun, a noted historian of Myanmar, points out that to expand and maintain the empire re-established by his father, King Nyangyan, King Pali built up large armies In 1635, he ordered his army to be increased 20 times. From 20,000 men to 400,000. From 20,000 men to 400,000, 20 times. Dr. Thantun estimates that the population of Burma under King Dalun was 2 million. So 1 in 5 people were to be in the army. The target was to have 100,000 guns, 10,000 cannons, 50,000 bows, and 6,000 boats, and 100,000 shields. Why is it very unlikely, in my opinion, that Dalun achieved this target? The immense strain his policy placed upon the populace is beyond doubt. To retain manpower for war expedition and reconstruction, King Dalun took several measures. I studied also Thailand, and I found the same event taking place with King Narai during the Prasat Thong era in Ayutthaya. So to return to King Dalun, first, his royal order dated the 5th August 1636. This royal order is available in Saphiloka in 10 volumes. The royal order dated the 5th August 1636 ostensibly for the purification of Buddha Sasana. King Dalun focused his attention on the monastery in the more populated Taungu district, which were in one way or another supported by and concerned with the officers. The abbots were ordered to weed out in Burmese, undesirable monks. The royal order divided monks into 6 categories. Number 1, those who wished to be teachers and therefore became monks. Number 2, those who sought the good lives of a bhikkhu. Number 3, those who had run away from the death or starvation. Number 4, those who had fled slavery. And number 5, those who wanted to look after their parents using the privilege of the Sangha. And number 6, those who had been ordained through faith in the Buddha. Here, only monks deemed to belong to the last category were to be allowed to stay. Those who want to become teachers were not allowed to stay either. Another royal act was to prohibit the ordination service. He prohibited, ordination in his kingdom. We can see in his own words, in the royal order. This was dated 28 September in 1638, 3 years after the purification order had been announced. Under this, a list of young males was to be compiled, and part of the order reads, I read my translation. I have been in this golden city, Ava, for 4 years. Do not allow Yahan ordination. Do not allow Shin ordination. And call the parents and inform them. End of the translation. Under another strong monarch, King Bodopaya, exams were used as a tool to control the Sangha. The first of his action was to appoint 12 examiner CROs in 1784. The 12 CROs were together to examine only one candidate. 12 examiner, one candidate. In Oxford, 2 examiner, one candidate. In America, 5 examiner, one candidate. In Gombang, under King Bodopaya, 1 candidate, 12 examiners. 12 examiners. The CROs, most of them learned royal Judas, Raja Guru, since since the previous reign, most likely thought it was not necessary for so many examiners to be examining only one candidate. So, and some of them have also regarded formal examination themselves unnecessary. So many of them didn't turn up for the examination. The king, therefore, in his royal order dated 8 July 1785, rebuked them, saying, I quote, "Siaro must not absent themselves. Examination are the affairs of the Sasana." See how the king argued. "I have heard that they did not come even when I summoned them. Unless for health problem, do not evade the duty. Is the business of the Sasana." End quote. This order, decree, as a whole, is extraordinary on three accounts. First, Bodopia made the point that formal examination are the affair and the business of the Sasana. It has never been, but now he made it. Secondly, he is so desperate that he decreed Siaro must enter at least one pupil of their own for the Pathamabian examination. And lastly, a Buddhist monarch shows the senior and learned Siaros very little respect when it comes to political control. In fact, the king made no secret of his disrespect for the Siaros, asking the commissioner of the religion, Mahadanwon, I quote, to report every 6 months if the Siaros were free from corruption in their assessing of examination candidates. End quote. The second measure taken by King Bodopia was designed to popularize the formal examination by rewarding the candidates with materials. The system of rewarding successful candidates with material and position, the king argues, was intended to benefit both the teachers and the pupil, not only in this life, but also next life. Candidates for monkshood or Bazin Laon, on their way to the examination hall called Sudama examination hall, would dress in royal costume, wearing jewel and ring. Anyone entering the preliminary Bazin Laon level had 13 attendants, 1-3 attendants to carry him and bring him royal requisites associated with his status. In addition, his parents were exempted from royal services. The king's extreme measure to enforce exam-based education system did not please the Sangha. Not even senior monks he appointed to senior positions. Resistance to formal examination was led by Siaros. That resistance was one of the reasons he finally dismissed them from their position, including the Tatanabai, Kuna Muninda, and all the Vinyadhara Siaros. Bodopia argued that he had to dismiss those Siaros for being Puthujana ordinary in their spiritual attainment, thereby prejudice in their judgment, even though no evidence exists to support the king's claim. The reason for the removal of the Siaro from their office was their resistance to the king's use of formal examination to control the Sangha. But this resistance started to weaken. Okay? It started weakening under a more diplomatic king, King Mindong. By the way, the kingdom of Burma had lost half of its territory to the British when King Mindong became the monarch. of the country. So he and his kingdom were in a much weaker position than his predecessor. King Mindong's patronage of monastic education is revealing of his attempt to forge closer ties with the Sangha. We have many PhD theses on this. Despite the difficult political situation he faced at the start of his kingship, King Mindong put an enormous effort into promoting monastic education, or the whole education, by transforming the former examination, namely the Vinaya and the Abbhidhamma examination. Unlike Bodo Paya, he did so with diplomacy and shrewdness. In fact, so shrewd was King Mindong's transformation of this examination that the Sangha came to change its thinking on monastic education drastically, embracing the exam-based education system it had once vehemently opposed. The Vinaya examination and now became a specialized examination, which pleased the senior CROs. And King Mindong also introduced another specialized examination, which is Abbhidhamma examination. Again, he pleased the Sangha, the educationists, very much with that action. And he even held the first ever recorded Patana recitation, 3 months long. 3 months long in the capital. Mindong's legacy in his successful persuasion of the Sangha to accept formal examination was to continue during and after the reign of his son, King Dipo. Under King Dipo, Abbhidhamma examination continued to be held with some changes. Some texts, some Pali texts written in Myanmar were to be included, such as Sattata Beda Jinda, Sattata Sarata Jalini, and Sankhepa Wanana and Manisara Manjusa Diga. And for the first time in history, King Dipo also introduced written examination. While also retaining recitation of text from memory and interview, he had interviewed a viva following that. So in 1885, King Dipo was deposed by the British, and with the fall of the Burmese kingdom and no more royal patronage, the people in the Sangha started organizing examination themselves, starting from Tejadiha and Siddhinkana. And there was a measure taken when we did not have sovereignty. But even after independence from the British, more and more exam boards keep coming into existence, and the monks have to sit more and more examination to get recognition. Now, while I do not have the answer to this problem, I'd like to propose that we change the pedagogical approach from a narrow teacher-centered approach to a wider student-centered learning. We should place more responsibility of learning on the students in the process, to show that we trust them, to learn, to make judgment, to develop, to grow. With this opportunity, they will prosper. And now, for now, it's not like that. The answers are standardized and memorized. It's not just the monks, but also the government, lay school are like this. No individual thinking is encouraged. There's no essay writing. There is no essay writing practice. No reading of relevant sources and references. The question setters do not give opportunity to students to express themselves, how they understand the teaching of the Buddha. The script markers also mark the paper in a very narrow sense, not taking into consideration of logic and possibility, let alone personal opinion. If the student do not give the standardized answer, but deviate from the expected answer, that is a good reason to fail him. A very good reason to fail him. We lose many good students along the way because they become disenchanted with the system. And of course, there has never been essay writing. I want to give you a figure, okay, how we lose students. Just one figure from Kamboja Thamnicho, 21 years old. There were 8,447 candidates entering the exam. 8,447. How many graduate? 248. 248. How many percent? 2.5%. About 3%. So how many percent we lose? You see? So the system that we have now is for elite is elitist approach. We don't think about the people, okay, who don't fit into this. Just look at the philosophy, education philosophy that we have in the early days. Achimaratatara. Okay? It has 8 aspects: to listen, to think, to question, to discuss and debate, to analyze, to write and compile, to train or put into practice, and finally to internalize. You see, we have never come close to this philosophy. In the government school or in the monastic school, no, not yet. I hope from today we will get closer to this. And look at the 3 education philosophy in Buddhism. Sudamaya, Panya, this is to learn from the teacher. Jindamaya, Panya, that to develop your own opinion. Jindamaya, just to ensure, okay, we understand properly. Parado asutva, without listening to others. Okay. Pati lata panya, the wisdom that we gain. Okay. Adano jindavasena, through our own thinking and philosophy. Okay. All the other quotations mean the same thing. So we really need to go back to Buddhist education philosophy. Either in the Buddhist monastic education system or as in the non-monastic education system. If we do so, we will be among the best in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Most Venerable Sayadaw. The next speaker is the Most Venerable Professor Dr. Pra Sakyavamsa Visuddhi, or Anil Sugando. The Venerable was born Nepalese in the Buddhist clan of the Sakya. He has greatly contributed to the Buddhist world and Thailand, as he has been widely recognized as a Buddhist scholar monk, who not only delivers lectures at world-leading universities, but also has always been invited to teach top Thai government administrators, business world, and to speak at the UN organizations. In Thai media, he is regarded as one of the most appeared media Buddhist monks. He was the unprecedented recipient monk of the Royal Scholarship from His Majesty the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej of Thailand for his postgraduate studies in the United Kingdom. He graduated with an MPhil from the University of Cambridge and later with a PhD in social anthropology at Brunel University in the UK. In recognition of his achievements, His Majesty the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej of Thailand awarded him with a special ecclesiastical title of Pra Sakyavamsa Visuddhi in 2014. Similarly, the government of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar conferred on him an honorary religious title of Mahasaddhamma Jyotikadaja in 2008. Currently, the Most Venerable is residing at the Royal Monastery of Wat Puranives Vihara in Bangkok, Thailand, where he holds a position of an assistant abbot. He is the honorary rector of the World Buddhist University under the World Fellowship of Buddhists and deputy rector of the Mahamakut Buddhist University. The Venerable represents the modern phase of Theravada Buddhism, a bridge between the monastic's principal authority and the ever-changing realities of secular existence. The Venerable is going to talk about Buddhist anthropology from sacred to secular. Thank you, Venerable. The floor is yours.
Most Venerable Chairman of this session, Most Venerable Prabhupada Pandit, the Chairman of the session, our MC here, and Venerable colleagues, nuns, distinguished old guests, and who are very keen in listening to these very hard topics of today's. This is a celebration of 100 years. Of course, I guess we are not going to sit here for 100 hours, I guess. But with these few hours, we are learning, I guess, over 100 things. So this is what celebration is all about. Most Venerable just gave us a very broad picture of philosophy. What is philosophy? Love of knowledge. How nice it is. I guess everyone here have to have such a title as a philosopher because you are able to sit here for many hours because you love of that knowledge. You love to learn more and more. Oxford Sayadaw went through all the history of how Buddhist education has been growing. Again, when you talk about the history, that is another very important thing of what is called humanity. How we become as who we are at the moment. Without history, there's nothing. But as an anthropologist like me, I will look at sometimes very differently. I will look at philosophy in a way that how philosophy is reflected in people's idea and people's life. I'm not going to argue that philosophy is good or bad. I'm not going to judge that this philosophy is good, that philosophy is bad. But as an anthropologist, what I do is that I look at the people who use a philosophy as they understand and as they behave according to that philosophy. So this is as an anthropologist I do. Same as a history. I look at a historian. I wouldn't say that that is a good history, that is a bad history. But I will analyze the history based on the peoples, based on the community, based on the society, and sometimes I say that that is a story, maybe you better call his story, not a history at all. Because sometimes when you say history, it's based on personal who write the history. The one who write the history sometimes ignore a lot of things which he's not interested in. And as an anthropologist, I look at the history and say that history is actually what he is talking about is his story instead. So this is what kind of a little bit of what do you call this? Anthropology as an other for all of you. I heard that Venerable Oxford Sayadaw told me that here we don't know much about anthropology. But I totally disagree. Because maybe you don't know the word anthropology. But everyone here, I challenge that you know anthropology. But you might know that is anthropology. Actually, in our life, we are always curious. I guess that you read sometime magazines. You need sometime newspaper. What you read? Or when you are free, when you have a vacation, you want to go here and there. and what you want to search for, the place you want to go, you will see, there is that sort of a tribe here, that is sort of a culture here, that is that sort of a something which is special there. So all those are actually anthropology, you see. You have been reading anthropology all the time. When you want to know about, let's say that some Korean, then where you go? You have to look at all this, maybe in old days is what you call trouble magazines, or even some novel and all those things. Actually, we are reading with a very curiosity because they are so different from us. So that is, if you alienate yourself from what you know, which make you very keen on studying those things because it is something very new for you. That is how anthropologists work. So sometimes anthropology, it says that it is a study of the others, not the self. But later on, of course, you can study self as well. So this is something I believe that we might know that is anthropology, but the essence of anthropology, what is ethnography, what is called all these cultural documents, the travel documents, are basically all the fragments of what makes anthropology. So I disagree with Oxford Sayadaw that you don't know anthropology. And especially in the Yangon University here, last night I went through the website of this university, and I was so happy that there is anthropology here in this university. And anthropology here, when I look at the history of the anthropology in this university, and I then noticed that I feel a little bit sad, because anthropology here was sometime up, sometime down, sometime up, sometime down, just like any other thing, I guess. I don't know what is the status of anthropology at the moment. So, anthropology is something very, very special subject, I guess. A lot of people don't know what it's all about. As I said, actually, everyone is a part of anthropology. And it was started very peculiar, this very, very weird way. Because anthropology is a very different discipline, the way it started. The anthropology was started in the colonial period. It is imperial period. And it is started as a small technique, what I call a spying subject. But it is a spying subject for what? It is an open spying subject, I would have to say. Because all this colonial authority, the colonial governor, they want to learn all those people who they have governed. So they want to know that what is their secret? What is your practice? What is their cultures? If those are the governors, policy makers in the colonial period, they understand who they are controlling, who they are governing, then they will easily please them. They will easily make all the policy. Sometimes that's not good policy. But we, as one who colonized, wouldn't know that, they respect us. For example, I guess, in the time of colonial period in Myanmar, the British, they didn't respect us. When go to temple, they put their shoes in and so and so, and we get very angry. And what will happen? We try to not cooperate with whatever they said. And when they found the difficulty, they sent these supposed to be anthropologists at the time. Why? Go and study, go and spy. What's wrong with them? Why they don't listen to our order? And so and so. So once they go there and then study, that is called participant observation. Okay? Participant observation. They participate in every culture, whatever they do, any ritual, they will pretend that they really do it, they really respect it, but actually they didn't. They are the one who is studying, they are the one who is spying. And after that they spy, then they realize that in order to go to any temples here, monastery here, you have to take off your shoes. And they go and tell to the governors. The governors Ah, I see. So they took off the shoes and they come to our monastery. And we said that, oh, so good, they respect us. You see? Actually, this is a trade secret of anthropology when it started. So that's how every culture, every country, every community, those colonial, they cover or they govern, they use anthropology as a very important tools to control, to govern them peacefully, without any problem. Once this is very useful and beneficial, then later on, the anthropologists itself, they started to questions. And then instead of just serving all these governors or the government, then they started a disciplinary called anthropology to be able to understand somebody who is not from your culture. So, if we compare to the idea of a Buddhist study, it says that it is at around 19th century, the Buddhist study was started in Europe. Because again, this is again Western way of approach. When we say Buddhist study, we are not studying Buddhism as we understand. We do Abbhidhamma, we do Pali, we do the Sutta, we do all the monastic education as Oxford Sayadaw say. But Buddhist study is not that. Buddhist study is something, it is similar to the anthropology. Because we go and study how they study Buddhism and what is the impact of that. We use interdisciplinary way to understand what you are doing. So it is not a Pali, it is not Abbhidhamma. Yes, we go to study those, but we look at the influence at the society, influence at the behavior of those people who study that. You might remember all the Tipitaka, you might remember all the Abbhidhamma, but as an anthropologist, I look at that. Yeah, you can be a great teacher. You can be a great reciter. But what is your behavior? Behavior is not saying that. You say that you are Buddhist. You say that I follow Buddhism very closely. I follow Tipitaka. But when you see that in the many temples, you have a net. And why you follow the net? You have a ghost. You have a this and you have a that. And where Buddhas? Which sutta says that you can worship those and that, you see? So anthropology creates a problem sometimes. Anthropology is always asking those questions. Why? How? Who? Where? All these five W's and how is always the tools for anthropologists. So this is the time which started the anthropology in that sense. So let me tell my own story of anthropology. So it will be more easier for you than going through all these texts and referring to all the books. It was back in 1993 when I was ordered. Actually, it was not my will. My teacher, who is the last Sangharaja, Supreme Patriarch of Thailand, who passed away at the age of 100, I was working as a secretary, his secretary. And then suddenly he said that you should go for your postgraduate. I said, why? I don't want to go. Because I am doing your secretary job. I think I have a job to do. I have a responsibility to take. And then being the secretary of the Sangharaja, I know everyone in Thailand. Even the prime minister, even the royalty. And so I thought that why I have to go and study? What is the point of studying? I see many people with a degree, they are unemployed. And I have a master already, why I have to go for study those things? But my teacher didn't give any other explanation that no, you should go for this study. Then it was a willing of my master, my Upajjhaya, then I said, yes, sir, Venerable Sir, I will do. So I started to apply. And then suddenly, I apply in the Department of Social Anthropology in Cambridge. I was accepted there. Then everyone is asked, what is that language? What is that subject? So I went there, and then the professor there was very happy, and then said, you can study there. But one who helped me around in Cambridge at that time, even the scholar says that, I know, I want you to change the subject. You shouldn't learn the anthropology. And whoever I met at the time, all the Western scholars, everyone says that I shouldn't learn the anthropology. I'm a Buddhist monk, I shouldn't learn anthropology. Back at home in Thailand and Nepal, nobody knows what is anthropology all about. So I am jumping into something, I'm going into something very alien world, where even the Western says that I shouldn't take the anthropology, and even back at home, nobody knows what is anthropology. So I'm going to the very new world. But then I asked, why you are disapproving that I want to study anthropology? And every Western well-wishers, they gave me answers. I was shocked. They said that, we feel very sorry for your knowledge of Buddhism. If you take anthropology, your belief in Buddhism, your faith in Buddhism will totally destroyed. I was shocked. Is there any subject which can destroy Buddhism? Then it even made me very curious. If there is a subject which can destroy Buddhism, I should learn, I should know then. Instead of not accepting their suggestions, their well-wishers, I said that no, I will go for anthropology. And then I got into anthropology. And I started to study. And my professor sent me to what? Asked me to read all different odd things. Go and study something read about this Nuer tribe in Africa, their economic system. Go and look at the Malinowskis in the Papua New Guinea, their sex life in the Papua New Guinea, their wedding, their marriage, their politics. So I don't know why, and then I was saying that why I have to read all those things. As just one subject of anthropology, why I have to tap on the philosophy, why I have to tap on the psychology, why I have to tap on the economy, politics, whatever, ritual, religion, everything. But finally I started to know that, they are trying to look at in a very different way. They are trying to ask whatever you see as what makes you human. So that's why anthropology, knowledge of what? Of man. Manava Shastra in Sanskrit. It's about human. It's about us. So when I started to study that, again, even in my class in Cambridge, all my students asking the same question again. Can monk study anthropology? Why monk studying anthropology? It looks like this anthropology is something very, very satanic subject. The one, they said that it's destroy Buddhism, destroy my faith. And now all the students say that, no, a monk shouldn't study anthropology at all. Then, by some due time, professor asked me to present a seminar paper. So I asked that, what do I do to present? And the professor said, everyone is asking why you study anthropology. That will be a good topic, he suggested. So I said, okay, if it is the case, I said that my first seminar in my doing postgraduate is being a monk anthropologist. And in that seminal paper, I presented in a way that actually anthropology and Buddhism is not that different at all. Anthropology is a tool to study. It is a tool to analyze things. It is a tool to understand all social phenomena, cultural phenomena. Same as Buddhism. I said that Buddhism is not based on faith. Buddhism destroys faith. Buddhism destroys belief. So if you understand, then I understood that why those Westerners discouraging me to study Buddhism, because they thought that Buddhism is based on belief. Buddhism is based on faith. And this anthropology tried to ask you all different questions. So if your religion is based on faith, of course it will destroy you. It will discredit whatever your faith is, your belief is. But I am very firm that Buddhism is not based on faith. I can challenge that. So I say that actually dukkha in the Four Noble Truths, to identify the questions is the same as the what? To identify the problem is the same as what anthropologists do and then ask with all these 5 W and 1 H. We do the same thing. And we'll find the samudaya, the cause of the causes, for cause of the suffering, cause of the problem. And same as anthropologists do the same thing. But when anthropologists are able to analyze and answers all those, what is the causes, anthropologists unemployed. Work of anthropologists is done. Then I said that Buddhist is not done there. Buddhism still have a nirodha, which you can have a solution for that problem, and then you have a how-to as a magga. So I said that beginning, Buddhism and anthropology have the same way of looking at the things, but in the middle, the anthropologists become very small child. So this is what all about. So what is anthropology so? So if you look at anthropology, you can say that it's anthropology of what makes us human, you can say culture, whatever, all those things. So therefore, when we talk about the anthropology, it is something starting with a very negative idea of a tools of a colonial power, but later it become a tools to investigate things very thoroughly with the participant observation, with the true proving, with your own eyes, with your own experience. It is just like a pachatang veditabo vinyohe. You have to do it yourself. You can't rely on anyone. And this is how we started to understand other cultures. This is how slowly anthropology developed. Actually, with the anthropology, I guess that it was the first interdisciplinary disciplinary which justify the definition of Buddhism for us. Before, Buddhism was defined as a religion by the Christian domination. Religion is always to do with God, serving God, worshipping God, whatever other human power, superhuman power. And Buddhism never fit into that category. That's why Venerable just says that it fall into the philosophical category from the based on that, because it doesn't fall into the religious category. We don't have a God. So they always look down upon us. It is not even a religion, it is just a philosophy. Or even such as a way of life. And it was the Emil Durkheim, sociologist and anthropologist, who didn't accept that idea of a definition of religion and say that religion has to be not a God only. It is a practice. It is a belief and practice where you can see things, where you can experience things, where you keep all the people as a community, you see, the binding things. So it was the first time I would say that the anthropologists justified the concept of a religion. So that's why it was the first time Buddhism started to speak in the West that Buddhism is a religion without God, which is actually God means that you need to have a God, but Buddhism is religion without God. That is an anthropology way of thinking. So when we look at the anthropology in that sense, I have very short time. What I do as anthropology is that the same as what I answered to my questions in my classes at the time. Then when I was graduated again, I still have the same problem. Even nowadays, when I say that I study anthropology, people immediately ask, what is that? Sometimes they know sociology, but anthropology, not so many people know about that. But when I explain anthropology, it's a tools to study the things. So I can study anthropology as a philosophy. I can study anthropology as history. Nowadays, you have an anthropology of everything. Anthropology of law, anthropology of philosophy, anthropology of history, biological anthropology, forensic anthropology, physical anthropology, cultural anthropology. So anthropology has become a term which you add on to any discipline now. So that has been very different from how it started. It started with the idea of studying the primitive group, studying the tribe, small group, and this and that. But now, in order to study, we make our own tribe. For example, Buddhists, we make our Buddhist tribe and look at the Buddhism as a whole. Look at the teachings, look at the philosophy. And I look at the philosophy and teaching, how it is reflected in people's behavior. How people take that philosophy. How is their history is like that? Why they become like that? Why it is they become the way they are? Why they are behaving in that way? And we are doing that with a comparison. We look at the different cultures and then see that why that culture can do this. Why you have a similar here? Why we are so different there? So this is the way how we understand. Now, when we talk about the Buddhism, getting close to Buddhism, so anthropologists started to study Buddhism from the early period, especially from the 1960s onward. Buddhism became a sweet dessert for the anthropologists. We studied all the Buddhist community, Buddhist societies everywhere, and especially with the Theravada was very popular among all those anthropologists, not Mahayana that well. Mahayana catch up later. So that's why you can see that in Burma at the time, in the 1970s, there were some scholars, then some anthropologists who was here, came out with this very big book, Buddhism and Society. This is an anthropological book at the time, 1971. There's another one in Thailand called Thambaya, same period. So it's become so many books on Buddhism or Buddhist society and Buddhist community. They are the work of anthropologists. If you want to learn about specific topics, spiritual Dhamma, so you have to ask the Venerable Brahma Bandit here, so he can explain Four Noble Truths and so and so. But I don't look at that. I learn what Four Noble Truths are all about. But I look at how Four Noble Truths is manifested in the people's life. So that is become a very important subject. So that's why I guess that the people in the West, they told me that I shouldn't learn this language, this subject, because if Buddhism is based on the faith and belief, of course it will destroy, because you are asking so many questions. But Buddhism, you are asked to ask the question in order to understand. So in a way that it is giving more, I think, force to Buddhism. So that's why you will see a lot of Buddhist books which explain about Buddhism in different countries, in Sri Lanka, in Thailand, in Burma. For example, in this one, by Spiro, he divided Buddhism, Buddhist society in Thailand in the three terms. Not as the philosophy, as a Hinayana, Mahayana, whatever, not as all this development of education. Look at all people, and then we are started to ask question. Why Buddhism teach about the giving up the kilesa, giving up to the nirvana? But at the same time, why people go and worship this God and that God for the wealth? Buddhism talk about the giving up and understanding individualism, but you are living in a community. So we are trying to make sense. Why? When I say the Buddhism, it is teaching like that, but you are acting totally different. So as an anthropologist, I have to come with the explanation why it is happening that. I am not entitled to justify, I am not entitled to judge that you are not Buddhist. But I have to explain why you are Buddhist, but you are still able to do that. So these are the scholarship of anthropologists starting to give a lot of literature, a lot of monograph, trying to explain all those things. So you have a scientific religion, you have a Protestant Buddhism, for example. And in Burma, in this book, he went to as a Nibbanic Buddhism, Kammika Buddhism, and apotropic Buddhism. We say that we are Buddhism, we are for the Buddhist study, or all the Tipitaka, we might go for the Nirvana. But not all will go to Nirvana. A lot of Buddhists, they will do the dana, they will do the everything, invest a lot of things. They just want to have a better rebirth in the next life. You see? Not for Nirvana. So sometimes, not even that. Sometimes they just want to practice Buddhism in order to be rich. So is that the Buddhism? Sometimes we practice and study Buddhism, what? In order to cure our disease. For example, Goenka. He was interested in Buddhism because he wanted to cure his migraine, not for Buddhism. So that's why we are anthropologists trying to look at all these different kind of things and then define all different terms. So this is how the anthropology developed, and then you have many scholarship, literatures, many came out and then trying to explain. This is a Nibbanic, Kammic, and apotropic, you see. These are the things. So therefore, we can see that these are the few books I can show you as a simple example, you see. Politics system of a highland Burma, you see. We are talking about the politics here. Buddhism betrayed. It is about again, politics in Sri Lanka. Monk householder, Buddhism in society, Buddhism transformed. How they are having a problem in Sri Lanka. So Buddhism, Southeast Asia. Again, this is a tale, the magical story of Thailand. It's a ghost story of Thailand. Again, this is a kind of a Buddhist ghost story. But how it influences society with that. So these are the things. In the yellow one, Buddhist precept and practice, again, it is talking about the precept and practice, but from the people's life. Buddhism in life, South World, the spirit, becoming the Buddha. So all these are the books what you can find under the, what you call this, anthropology of Buddhism. Nowadays, the anthropology has touched upon every subject. You have an anthropology of number. Sometime in our society, you believe that you have to have a 9, you have to have a 8. I say, why? Why 8 months? Why 9 months? Why Sangam instead of 4 months? You see, I have to find all the explanation by the culture, by the philosophy, based on whatever. Then, this is the explanation anthropology do. So anthropology, what we do is that we are not a judge. We are not justifying any actions, any phenomenon in society and culture. But job is that we explain everything, how it happened, why it happened, how it is going on. And it is based on, each people who read the anthropological text, ethnographical text, to decide upon in order to make policy, in order to solve the problem, and so and so. So this is anthropology. So in 50 years, I guess that it has changed from beginning as a small subject interdisciplinary to now it's become a so big science that we can touch upon and study everything through anthropology. Because the tools of anthropology is that participant observations, why, how, where, what, how. So everything is that. So it is a very important tools, not only to study Buddhism, but for development of country, for the sustainable development. For example, as an anthropologist, I raise the question, what do you mean by sustainable development? Because it is an oxymoron. Sustain means that stopping. And development means that changing. So how can you have these two words together? If you want to develop, it shouldn't be sustaining. It should be moving. So if you sustain, so it means that you have stopped developing. So what do you mean by sustainable development? This is some questions anthropologists always raise, and then stir the problem, stir the society, and then make it people want to learn more, understand more, and hoping that that will solve the problem of what we are facing on this earth. So I'm glad that you have got this anthropology in this university, and then hope that this kind of subject, it is not a satanic subject as I was threatened by in the beginning, but actually it is a very good tools for us to see what we have done. And if we apply some kind of education, again, you need anthropology to see that how it's working. Even the philosophy, again, you need anthropology to see that the philosophy is working or not. So that is the anthropology, and then I hope that Yangon University will be growing expertizing on this anthropology so that it will become a part of society, it will become a part of us where we can use to understand the world, where we can understand the cultures and live happily forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bhante. That was a very interesting life story, as well as a very clear explanation of what anthropology is and how it relates to Buddhism. I think now it is a moment for a break. We are a little bit late already, so I will pass the microphone to the MCs of the conference to decide how much time we have for the break. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the panel for the wonderful presentation and the research-oriented papers which provoke our thoughts. So before we go to the break, let me express our heartfelt appreciation to our venerable panelists for touching upon very important subjects. First, the most venerable professor, Dr. Brahma Pandit, for introducing different schools of Buddhism and doing the comparative study, and later going beyond these boundaries and how collective effort is made in compiling the Common Buddhist Text, CBT. And our heartfelt thanks also go to the most venerable professor,